They are beings of dark earth and night air, and so flame and pure water are inimical to their unholy flesh. And rarely does the wise man in Nosgoth stray from the banks of a river or the pool of torchlight.
Hey everyone, Calypso here. Welcome back, my fellow Legionnaires. We have another update for you, this time with the Scourge of the Sarafan Legacy of Kain tabletop role-playing game, or TTRPG. Second with the Book of Nosgoth, the overall encyclopedia, the Bible, if you will, of Legacy of Kain. So the bad news first out of this double header is that the Bible as well as the tabletop RPG have been pushed back from Q1 of next year to Q2. So instead of coming out between January and April, you can expect them from May through August. And if it gets pushed back any further, then just October. That's the bad news. The good news is that the writing has changed. So rather than having the writer of the comic book Dead Shall Rise, we now have our golden trio, if you will, of the Legacy of Kain community, the Ancient's Den. Ancient's Den, just in case you are new to this franchise, are the wiki owners, essentially. They're the guys who you basically go to read up on Legacy of Kain. I personally think that's an achievement well earned. They are the driving force behind all Legacy of Kain knowledge at this point, so who better to get than them to write this encyclopedia. Assist, consult, make sure everything is as correct as possible. They also have access to Crystal Dynamics archives, so everything should pretty much be in place at this point. I think that's very cool. Despite having some disagreements with them on the whole development aspect of Legacy of Kain, I think it is very well earned, so congrats to you guys.
Who better to serve me than those whose passion transcends all notions of good and evil?
The other thing here with this primary update pretty much about the Scourge of Sarafan RPG is that for me personally, even though I'm not an RPG guy at all, I have like zero friends to play RPGs with. I did try a game of Dungeons & Dragons once and it lasted like 4 hours, but those 4 hours were literally just character creation and talking about bullshit, which I guess is the true spirit of Dungeons & Dragons. I also backed a Conan RPG once. I'll talk about that in a future video, possibly. But enough rambling. This is about the Scourge of the Sarafan, and with this latest update, we got that update with the writing of the Bible and everything else like that, pushbacks, yada yada yada. So we have more stats. Now, I actually thought it would be cool to go through these and read through just the general info on the tabletop that we have right now, meaning character creation, stats, how things work, dice rolls, all that jazz. If you guys are tabletop fans, this video is for you. If you're not tabletop fans, this could be an introduction for you guys as well, sort of an introduction for me as well. So let's go through those stats, character sheets, etc, etc, etc. Everything here, some of you were asking about where I can find these comic panels and stuff. Everything here, if you guys did back this, should be on the backer kit in the very front page or in your email. So if you're looking for this stuff that I'm reading about, check your emails in your spam folder and check the backer kit for the Book of Nosgoth and the Scourge of the Sarafan RPG. A little bit of feedback that I have right now is to the team making this RPG. If you're super dedicated to this color scheme of black, red, and white, please make the text, the black text on the red, white. Just turn it white, man. As a blind person, someone who's visually impaired and needs super glasses, this is insanely difficult to read. It is so hard to read, I had to zoom into this thing like a billion times. That's the reason I got the digital version, because I can't even imagine trying to read this black on red text in a physical book. It's crazy. Obviously, this is my own personal problem because I have bad vision. I imagine other people with bad vision out there might have this problem as well. Turn the text white. Everything else, the black boxes on the white text is just fine. Some of the color scheming is fine. For the core text, white on red. I'm begging you. That's the only request I have. Okay, enough rambling. Let's name our character, shall we? Oh, side note, everything is subject to change. Take some of this with a grain of salt. So naming your character, you have to roll a dice. And obviously you can ignore this rule here and pick up a cool name if you want on your own. There's a billion fantasy name generators out there at this point. I'm sure we all know this and have used them at least once in our lifetime, but it is cool that we get a subset of names to pick and generate our character. I always think that's great. Top tier marks. Pick your Sarafan name here, roll some dice. Let me know what it is down below. So to name your character, you need 2d6. The top name Adathan with a 1 and 1 is, as an example, if you roll both d6s and they both land on 1. To generate my own name here, I typed in dice roller online in Google. It pulled up a little automatic dice thing. I roll it, as you guys can see here. And with that, I got a 3 and a 4. My name would be Merit. Now that we've named our character, me, Merit here for example, let's actually go over the general rules, or at least as many as we can for now. Each character, like all RPGs, have abilities. So player characters have 4 abilities used in different circumstances. You have your strength, agility, toughness, and presence. To generate a character's ability score, roll 3d6 and consult the table below. Record only the ability score, not the sum of the dice. So to explain that further, whatever you roll, whatever your dice total ends up being, that's your ability score. That's what you write down is the ability score. If I rolled a 9 and a 12 or a 9 through a 12, my ability score is 0. But to keep as an example going on this live action little flow here, I have my roller right here. I roll it. I get an 11 as my total, and that means that my 9 through 12 right here is 0. I get a 0 for my ability score. Write that down, don't get any bonuses. Now we move on to tests. I've never seen this as an example in any tabletop RPG, but given I'm not really a tabletop RPG guy anyway, so I can't imagine why I would. But this sounds actually pretty interesting. This might just be a new reworded Dungeons & Dragons thing, I have no idea. But when the outcome of a situation is not immediately obvious and there is clear risk involved, the player character must test an ability. Tests are made against a difficulty rating, or DR. Roll a d20, add or subtract your ability score, and attempt to equal or beat the difficulty rating, DR. A dice result of 20 always succeeds, and a result of 1 always fails. Oh, so it is Dungeons & Dragons. Regardless of ability scores, non-player characters, NPCs, do not have ability scores. They make tests by rolling a d20 and attempting to equal or beat the DR. Game text will specify which ability score is to be used and the DR of a test. For example, notice Ambush is a presence of 12 for a difficulty rating, or Resist Poison is a toughness difficulty rating of 14. Difficulty examples are right here on this table. Very easy, easy, normal, difficult, very difficult, and legendary is 18 and above, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, respectively. So, as another example, if I have a difficulty test of toughness where I have to resist poison, for example, I need a 14. I have my d20 right here. I roll it. Ooh, I get a 19, which means I succeeded. I passed. I resisted the poison.
The poison for Cusco. The poison chosen specially to kill Cusco. Cusco's poison.
Every RPG has items, and player characters can easily carry a number of normal-sized items equal to strength plus 8. Items are clearly not of a normal size or weight. I love that. I love that already, that they basically say, you got big fucking swords, and that's awesome. Large statues, dead horses, etc. cannot be carried. If a player character exceeds their carrying capacity, oh really? The DR for strength and agility tests increases by +2. A DR 12 test becomes a DR 14 test, and so on and so forth. It is not possible to carry more than double your strength of +8. Now we have our turn order under the violence section, which I actually think is pretty interesting. Roll d6 to determine the turn order between sides. Is 1 through 3 is enemies go first, 4 through 6 is player characters go first. Roll a d6 plus agility to determine individual turn order or to determine action order within sides. So in keeping with our little live action example here, I have a d6, I roll it, I get a 6, let me roll it again just because that didn't seem very fair. Alright, I get a 5 this time, so that means player characters go first. Awesome. Combat actions. Player characters roll both attack and defense in combat. NPCs do not roll dice in combat. Oh, that's nice. DRs in combat are modified as with any test. DR is our difficulty rating, just as a quick reminder, not dice roll. Your brain might want to make you think it's dice roll DR, but no, it's difficulty rating. For this, we use a d20, so it is very D&D based, it looks like. That's cool. With this, we roll a d20. We have our melee attack, ranged attack, and defend attack, or defend against attack. My mistake. Everything so far in this grain of salt reading of the RPG is a difficulty rating of 12, and you use a d20, it looks like here from the rules. So weapon breaks on a 1. Your enemy gains a free attack for the melee. If you lose, Ranged attack is the weapon breaks, and defend against as enemy deals double damage. Player character's armor is reduced by 1 tier if you lose the defend attack against. So let's say I'm going for a melee attack, our difficulty rating of 12 here. I have my d20, let me roll it. Did I get a 7? Nope, I didn't like that. I didn't feel unfair because it started off at 17. Alright, I get a 1. So I absolutely fail on this roll, which means an enemy gains a free attack from that roll. Turn length. A combat turn is long enough to traverse a room, make an attack, or perform another combat action. There are 10 combat turns in 1 minute. So you guys could picture a combat turn basically as like the combat in Soul Reaver. You fight in under a minute, bang, 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 or like a Hollywood action movie or something. Now we're moving on to weapons, seeing as how we're still talking about combat, and that's the ending of the rules page at least that I have anyway. Weapons are pretty freaking sick. Like, I actually love this weapon page. I love the art here. I'm pretty, like, they did a really bang up job with all this Legacy of Kain stuff, getting pretty solid artists for all this. So for weapons is you roll for a random weapon during character creation, which is a d6 if you have a Sarafan scroll, otherwise it's a d10. Oh, d6 if you have a Sarafan scroll, otherwise it's a d10. Got it. We have our dagger, which is d4 damage. It can be thrown. A icon stake. An iron stake is d2 damage. You need to test strength with a difficulty rating of 16 to pierce a vampire's heart. We have wrist blades. That sounds freaking cool. d4 damage. Test agility when making melee attacks. 4 is a whip. It's d4 damage. Test agility. Difficulty rating of 16 to disarm your opponent. 5 is crossbow. d6 damage. Ranged. Start with 12 bolts. That's nice. They have to keep counter of the bolts. You need a presence test of a difficulty rating of 12 after combat to retrieve your d4 bolts. That's nice. So you need to go and find your bolts on the battlefield with your presence ability, and it's d4 of how many bolts you get back. That's cool. 6 is your spiked mace. It's d6 damage. Armored targets suffer double damage. Twin axes, of course. Fuck yeah, dude. Havoc and Malice, baby, all the way. d6 damage. Two-handed, cannot use shields or scrolls. On a damage roll of 6, roll another d6 and add to total damage. This effect can be triggered multiple times. Spin to win. Sarafan Trident, of course, because we are playing as the Sarafan in this. You have d8 damage, two-handed, cannot use scrolls or shields. When charging, test strength of difficulty rating of 16 to pierce a vampire's heart. Sarafan Longsword, d8 damage, double damage to unarmored targets. That's cool. Finally, Great Hammer is a d10. Two-handed, cannot use shields or scrolls. Test a strength rating of 14 to knock a target to the ground. Those are our weapons. It should be noted, these are Sarafan weapons because the original idea was it's called Scourge of the Sarafan. We play as the Sarafan, the Warriors of Light.
Amongst Vorador's possessions, I found an ancient chronicle. Long ago, vampires grew in such number so as to capture the attention of the Circle. The Order of the Sarafan, or the Angels of Light as they were called, was instated to counter the menace. Thus, the Vampire Purge began.
At least that's how it started. Due to the overwhelming negative backlash of this being a Legacy of Kain RPG and not having vampires as a class pissed everyone off. So the developers went back, which is probably why there's this delay going on now instead of it being released when it was originally supposed to. So they went back to write in vampire classes. I suspect now, finally, that we are going to be getting the vampire classes. Hopefully, in my brain, it would be nice if they were inspired by the canceled Nosgoth game, and each vampire class is essentially one of those classes from that game. Obviously not directly related to the clans of the brothers like Raziel and Tyrell, etc., but because this is taking place during the time of the Sarafan, we get new twists on those classes. And of course, with vampires, there will be probably vampire-focused weapons, claws, different vampire swords, vampire forges, etc., 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 etc. So many possibilities, so many ideas, coolest shit ever. Now, throughout our weapon wheel talk, they mentioned scrolls very often. Thankfully, we have a page here talking about Sarafan sorcery, Sarafan priests, and how they operate just a little bit. This is only one page out of the plethora, I imagine, that will be giving you the backstory on the Sarafan. So, we have our Sarafan sorcery. Again, just trying to read this is really difficult. Please just make the whole text white, guys. The sorceries known to the Sarafan are carefully recorded in illuminated scrolls, kept in the great library of the Sarafan stronghold. Sarafan warriors trained in matters of sorcery are permitted to carry these scrolls during the hunt, capitalized hunt, of course, although it is known that such magic must be wielded with great care. Reading a scroll. Each morning, Sarafan who wish to make use of sorcery may roll a d4 plus presence. The result is their total scroll reading for the day. To use a scroll, test presence of a difficulty rating of 12. On success, the Sarafan uses up one of their allotted readings and the scroll has its described effect. So is this just like Dungeons & Dragons spell slots? It seems like, from my very limited knowledge of Dungeons & Dragons. Anybody who knows more D&D, please let me know, comment down below. On failure, the Sarafan loses D2 of HP. Oh, that sucks. The scroll has no effect because it probably backfired. No further readings of any scroll may be attempted for the next hour. On a natural roll of 1, the scroll reading has failed catastrophically. The Sarafan gains 1 point of corruption and the scroll has a reversed or unintended effect. That's sick. I love that. It's a Sarafan's job to hunt down the Scourge of the undead, vampires, and thankfully we have a bestiary with a vampire as an example. Looks like morale will be taking a role here. So for our standard vampire, we have 50 HP, a morale of 10, armor is cursed flesh, and it's minus d8. So I guess that does minus d8 damage, or you take negative damage. Someone explain this to me a little further. Claws are 2d12, a bite is a d10, and regains HP equal to damage because they can regenerate their health. Targets test toughness of a difficulty rate of 16 or becomes a vampire. See page XX for rules on vampire player characters. So that is coming. So this looks like to be the base for vampires. Winged vampires, because this is during Janos' time, so that's cool. Vampires are airborne and cannot be targeted with melee attacks unless they are forced to land. They each have a special attack. Each round a vampire can use one of their special attacks, roll a d4 below, as well as their claws or a bite. One of Nosgoth's 3 primordial races, blue-fleshed flying humanoids, black of hair and wing, afflicted by the Hilden's blood curse, rendering them sterile and immortal monsters. Their race is thought to be long perished, but their buried ruins and tombs honeycomb the deep places of Nosgoth. Vampire abilities so far are Cyclone Spin, Telekinetic Barrier, Wind Torrent, and Lightning Storm. I won't read the way how to do any of this stuff because I feel this video is getting a little bit long-winded at this point. Sarafan, apart from fighting vampires, they can also fight ghosts, and ghosts have a HP of 4, morale of 7, and armor is incorporeal, immune to all non-magical damage, which is neat. You're going to need a Sarafan sorcerer on your team. They have exorcism. Ghosts cannot be harmed by physical weapons, but can be exorcised by completing their unfinished task. See below. Oh, that'll be neat. So imagine an adventure where you have to save a ghost and you have to, I forgot to brew my tea this morning. Can you do it for me? And then they are cured and they move on to the next life. Restless, bodiless spirits driven to return to the material realm by their unfinished business. They resemble their physical body at the moment of death. They are bound to the area in which they died and cannot leave this area. With each ghost roll for the DMs, I imagine, or whatever they're going to end up calling them in this universe, you can roll a d6 and you actually get to decide what ghosts look like here, which is awesome. So we have innocents and innocent and youthful, aged and sickly, a child, soldier, prosperous and well-dressed, and haggard and cruel 1 through 6. And of course, each of them have a cause of death: plague, drowning, burned, shot with arrow, hanged, poisoned, and each one of them has their own special attack: poltergeist activity, weakening touch, banshee wall, sickening touch, possession, or deathly touch. And each one of these, 1 through 2, 3 through 4, and 5 through 6, have unfinished business that you need to complete if you wish to exorcise them. So 1 through 2 is you need a proper burial, their corpse is hidden nearby. Hidden valuables must be given to the living relative. Ghosts can tell who you were and where. And revenge on these responsible for the death. Ghosts can describe them for you and you go find them and hunt them out. That is very cool. I love that detail. Again, I have no idea if this is a D&D thing or not, but that's awesome. I think that's great. Keeping with our little live action example on ghosts, we have our D6. We roll it. I get a 5, which means the ghost that I have encountered is prosperous and well dressed. He died from hanging, and I need to revenge the ones on those that are responsible for the death. And it's a presence roll of d12 for the possession if I get possessed, if he possesses me, yada yada yada. Imagine a Witcher 3 moment where you get possessed by the ghost and then you're all geared and you go around partying or something like that. I think that is awesome. I would love that scenario. I'm sure somebody will do that as an example, but that's it. And finally, apart from monsters, Sarafan fight giant animals because giant, monstrous, Lovecraftian hordes sometimes get in the way. Now for each one of these monsters, you need a d10. So you roll 1 through 10. We have a giant bear, giant leech, giant boar, snake, eagle, rat, toad, wolf, giant spider, or giant centipede. So this will be fun. Alright, so keeping with our little live action example, we have a d10 right here. That's got a 5. I roll it. I get a 10, which means I'm going to be fighting a giant centipede at this point. And that is our overall overview of the Scourge of the Sarafan tabletop RPG, now releasing in Q2 of 2026. Thankfully, I got the digital version, so I could probably use this dice roller just like many of you. If you seriously Google this, it's great. It saves you from playing physically if you guys are online, but of course, I imagine if you got the nice, big, beautiful physical deluxe edition of the Bible and the tabletop, then you're going to have some fun and it'll be great. Great times, drinks all around, have fun everyone. So that's it. Sorry if this video was really long. I've been Calypso. I hope you guys have liked this. More Legacy of Kain content coming soon. If you guys want a full overview or walkthrough of this RPG, I will absolutely do that. So I will see you in the next one. If you like this video, like this video. If you dislike this video, dislike this video. I'm signing off now. Sorry I've been blabbing so much. I will see you in the next one. Ve Victus.